Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Read Aloud for today. So we are going to continuing reading. Joni B. Jones is a party animal. Okay. So if you remember what we talked about a little bit with Junie B, we talked about yesterday. She was getting in the car and she was on her way to Richie Nana's house. And if you remember, we talked about some character traits. So we talked about how she is very hyper. We talked about how she gets very excited. We also talked about how she's not self-aware at all, right? We talked about how she was a little bit irresponsible because she doesn't exactly keep up with everything and kind of know what's going on. And so as we read, I want us to keep thinking about Junie B, and I want us to keep thinking about her character traits. And I want us to kind of look for some evidence of those character traits while we're reading, okay? All right, so we are going to read chapter 5. Chapter 5, Going to the Ball. Lucille was sitting in the middle. She whispered real quiet to me. And that Grace. Beg for my poodle, she said. You promised, remember? You promised to beg for my poodle. Me and that Grace looked at each other because we didn't actually want to do that particular thing. Lucille poked us. Come on, you promised, she whispered. You promised to beg. I did a sigh. Then I think about what to say. Finally, I took a deep breath. Hey, Nana, guess what? Lucille wants a poodle, apparently, and so could you buy her one, do you think? I asked. Yes, could you? Asked that Grace. Because she is making us beg you, or else we can't spend the night. Then Anna's mouth came all the way open. Oh, so that's what this is all about, huh? Well, my granddaughter knows perfectly well that I am allergic to dogs. So you can tell Lucille that a poodle is out of the question, I'm afraid. I patted Lucille, very understanding. A poodle is out of the question, we're afraid, I said. Lucille kicked her feet up and down. Beg harder, she whispered. You have to beg harder. I did a frown. Are you firm on that, Nana? I asked. No, poodle, Lucille, said the Nana, very snappish. Lucille kicked her feet some more. I knew that dumb idea wouldn't work, she grouched. Just then the car stopped in front of the big iron gate. Grace's eyes opened big and wide. Wow, this gate looks like a castle gate, she said. Lucille smiled a tiny bit. It's not a castle gate, you silly head, Grace, she said. This is the gate to my house. Then Anna pushed a button and the gate opened right in front of us. Hey, that button is like magic, I said. Lucille smiled bigger. After that, the Nana drove down a long driveway. She stopped in front of a big, beautiful house. Lucille jumped out of the car and ran inside. Me and that Grace followed after her. And guess what? Lucille's house was even beautifuler on the inside than it was the outside. There was a beautiful long row of stairs and a beautiful big bowl of flowers and a beautiful giant sparkly ceiling light made out of glass. I did a gasp at that glistening thing. That light takes my breathing away, I said. Lucille skipped all around in a circle. She sang a loud song in our ears. See, I told you I was rich. See, I told you I was rich, she sang. She made up that song, I believe. After that, she took our hands and showed us all the rooms in her house. She showed us the living room and the dining room and the kitchen and the big giant patio and the daddy's office and the mother's office and the family room and the pool where you play pool and the outside pool where you swim and the hot tub and the library and the gym and the Nana's room and the mother and daddy's room and the fancy gold bathroom with the jacuzzi and the brother's room and a whole bunch of guest rooms. Then finally, Lucille showed us her very own bedroom. And it looked like a bedroom where a princess lived. Lucille's bed had a pink frilly roof on top of it. That is called a canopy, she explained. It matches my pink silk draperies and my pink silk bedspread and my pink telephone and my plush pink rug and my wallpaper with pink flowers in it. And see my TV and my stereo and my computer and my CD player? She pointed to the corner. And did you notice all of my big stuffed animals standing over there? She asked. My eyes popped out at those giant guys. The giraffe was bigger than me even. Me and that Grace ran to play with them. No, stop, don't, shouted Lucille. You're not allowed to touch them. They are just for show. Huh? Said that Grace. What? I said. How come? Because they were expensive, that's how come. Those animals cost my Nana a fortune. Oh, I said, kind of disappointed. Oh, said that Grace. We sat down on Lucille's bed. Lucille shouted at us again. No, get up. You're not allowed to sit there. The bedspread is just for show. Me and that Grace sprang right off of there. Lucille quick moved the material with her hand. Don't you two know anything, she said. This bedspread is made out of silk. I told you I'm not allowed to get it soiled. Oh, I said. Oh, said that Grace. After that, Lucille skipped over to her dresser and she pressed a button on her mirror. A million bazillion lights came on. Look at this, she said. This is my very own professional makeup mirror. It is the same kind of mirror that they use for the movie stars. My Nana brought it all the way from Hollywood, California. Me and that Grace ran to the sparkling mirror. We looked at ourselves and the bright lights. Then we sticked out our tongues and made funny faces. Lucille quick turned it off. It's not a toy, she grouched. After that, me and that Grace just stood very still, and we didn't touch anything. This is going to be a long evening, I said, kind of quiet. Only just then, something very wonderful happened. Lucille's Nana came in the room, and she was carrying a big box of dress-up clothes. I thought you little girls might have fun with some of my old evening gowns, she said real nice. They're as old as the hills, but they're still quite stunning. Lucille ran to the box, speedy quick. Let's play Cinderella, she said. She pulled out a beautiful sparkly pink gown. I'm Cinderella, she shouted. Then that Grace shoved me out of her way and she ran to the box too. She pulled out a sparkly blue gown. I'm the fairy godmother, she yelled. I did a huff breath at those two, because now I have to be the ugly stepsisters probably. I bent down and searched through the box very carefully. Then all of a sudden my hand felt something long and silky and softy. I pulled it out of there. Nana's whole face lit up. Oh my goodness, my old feather boa, she said. Why, I haven't seen that thing in years. I danced all around with that lovely thing. I love this, Nana. I love this old feather boa. Just then another great idea popped in my brain. Hey, I know. I will be the famous singer that sings at Cinderella's ball. Lucille and Grace looked funny at me. What singer? Said Lucille. There's no singer, said that Grace. I stomped my foot at them. Yes, there is. There is too a singer, and I am her. My name is Florence, the famous singer, and I will be performing show tunes from the hit musical Annie. So, there. Lucille and Grace shrugged their shoulders at me. Then they dressed up in their beautiful gowns, and they went to the ball, and I sang The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow. All right. So, Junie B, we could give her another character trait, right? Junie B is very creative. I definitely could say that Junie B is very creative. And the reason I could say she's creative, because, right, whenever they go to play Cinderella, instead of being stuck being an ugly stepsister, all of a sudden Junie B. Jones may have this idea that she could be a famous singer that was at the ball. even though I'm pretty sure there was no famous singer at Cinderella. But Junie B is really creative, right? Because she was like, I don't want to be a stepsister. So she came up with the idea to then be the famous singer. Is very creative because she didn't want to be a stepsister, so she made up the famous singer. Right? So I gave you my trait, and then I gave you the proof. She's creative, and then I said because this is what she did that makes her creative. So whenever you're doing character traits, make sure you're finding evidence to go along with your character trait. Make sure you're not just giving me a character trait. It's one thing when we're just writing them down like this, but when we're going to say it like this, you got to make sure you give evidence, okay? Well, that is all for Read Aloud. Make sure you hit the next button to our reading lesson to learn some more about poetry.